I would like to welcome everyone to this medical marijuana awareness seminar. As you know, we have these every Thursday, and we look at different topics. Today's topic is, can medical cannabis help you? I think it's an important topic and something that's, I guess, near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. We have some slides that we're going to show. The objective of this webinar today is to let everybody ask questions and find out if it can help you. We really want to have you be able to be able to interact with you. Now, you should look at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little black bar, and on the right-hand side, you'll see something that says Q&A. And if you click on that Q&A and those little bubbles, you'll be able to ask questions. So please feel free to do that. And then we have people that are moderating this, so we'll be able to take a look at your questions. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can during our presentation. But again, if we don't get to it, we'll answer those questions at the end. There is a chat box. You can chat, but really, we're not going to, chat is mainly just there because of Zoom. We really want to concentrate on having your questions come to the Q&A. So I want to point out that we take these webinars very seriously. We work in the area of what they call medical marijuana, and it's dead serious for a lot of people who have lifestyle medical conditions. I'm honored today to be able to work with Trulieve. They're the ones that are going to be with us. And more importantly, I really have a pleasure of introducing a gentleman named Andrew Burke, who's with Trulieve. So Andrew, you want to join us, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and more importantly, you'll be able to help us through the presentation today or through the webinar.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. My name's Andrew. I am the Physician Engagement Manager for Trulieve. I got into the medical marijuana industry about 3.5 years ago. I started as a patient consultant in Tallahassee, where we were the only dispensary in the state of Florida. So we've come a real long way over these 3.5 years. I grew up in a small little beach town called Hope Sound, Florida, and community was a big focus there, and being able to help each other out. And a lot of the amazing qualities of growing up in that small beach town I took with me. I was able to transfer over into a career, and I'm happy to go around and help coach and educate our community educators that work directly with all of the physicians in the state of Florida, and help train them and help give them insight to medical marijuana. I've been an advocate for many, many years. My advocacy started when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and there was no medical marijuana program here in Florida. And I saw places like Colorado, California that had options for people that were in my mother's circumstance. So I continued our advocacy, and then in 2016, when the Amendment 2 passed, was able to actually get a job with the marijuana dispensary. Trulieve, been with them from the very get-go. So it's an honor to be here, and I love sharing my knowledge, my insight with people and doctors. So looking to really add some value. And Mark, thanks for letting me be a part of this today.
You're welcome. And I really appreciate the fact you have the COVID-19 beard going like all of us. So look, I want to get right into it because we want to answer your questions as to whether medical cannabis can help you. But I think what we'd like to do initially is just have a few slides that forms kind of a baseline of some information that we'll talk from. It helps to be able to explain what's going on. It helps be able to explain what we're doing. And I think the first question that a lot of people have is, what does a medical marijuana patient look like? And I think there's the old tradition that says there's old Snoop Dogg and Willie. I got to admit, in his 80s, Willie's still hanging in there, so I'll use him as a testament for what medical cannabis can do. But I've been in this business for 6 years. I got in it to help a friend. I've been a medical cannabis patient for over 4.5 years. I was in an automobile accident that had me have 2 herniated discs in my back and 7 in my neck. When your doctor comes in and says, you're my personal best, I've never seen that many herniated discs in the neck, it's not a good day for you. But I wanted to point out that medical cannabis patients you have the stereotype of Willie and Snoop, but they're veterans. They're people that have, not only just from previous wars, but people that have been in wars today. They're workers, high-tech workers. I worked in Silicon Valley for 38 years. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of people that were out there that had pain from a lot of different things. That pain may have come from auto accidents, it may have come from an injury, it may have come from being a veteran, and it was something that people had to deal with. And just to let you know, I had 8 of my employees in Silicon Valley over a period of 21 years die of heroin overdose, mainly being able to try to adjust for pain. And really only 2 of them were veterans. A lot of them were people that were in automobile accidents and things like that. And not only that, we have medical marijuana patients that are children. I mean, it's very good for autism and a number of different things. And here in Florida, you do have to have 2 doctors that give you the recommendation for children, but it is available. It's something that has really become acceptable. It helps combat a lot of health issues, and it's something that we take seriously to really help people out. Now, what's interesting is it something that, is it just a game, or is it something that's for real? And what's interesting is there's recreational and there's medical marijuana. Medical marijuana really got its start in 1964. And what a lot of people don't understand or don't know is that the United States government, the National Institute of Health, has been funding research into medical marijuana since 1964. I say that again, since 1964, your money and my money has been funding research into medical marijuana. And because it was illegal here in the United States, what happened was they went to Raphael Mechoulam in Israel. Raphael created a lab, and he's been working literally since 1964 on medical cannabis. He's known to do a lot of things. I won't go through the litany of the things he's known for, but he's the one that showed that medical cannabis can work. And there's a number of people that have worked in his lab at the Hebrew University and University of Jerusalem and Ben Gurion University. And they've done a number of different things like isolating endocannabinoids in the human brain and understanding what amenonides do. It's something that's very, very important that we funded this research. It's there. And what's really interesting about it is, on one side, we're saying it's a Schedule I drug and it's bad for you. On the other side of the coin, the United States government filed for and got a patent for medical cannabis. So what's interesting is we're talking out of, the government's been talking out of both sides of its mouth. In other words, although on one side they say it's bad for you, but they're funding it and they're actually going out and getting patents on it. It's kind of crazy. I've been in the business a while, and a lot of people perceive this as something that, hold on here, let me go back. Hold on here, I'm getting ahead of myself here. A lot of people are wondering about how safe it is to use. You know, we've gone through an opioid epidemic, and for example, and if you take a look at this chart, this is from the CDC, and I might point out that this chart has been updated through 2014, and I've tried to get a new chart, but the current administration is not updating this chart. And I'm not taking, this isn't a political jab, just something I'd like to get that information, because obviously the number of opioid deaths is beyond 20,000, is what I'm trying to point out. But we have a lot of people that are out there. You see this little curve over here, the blue curve, that shows the deaths. And I want to point out also, there's a curve in here that shows heroin. And if you look around 2010, when they started to try to cut back on medical cannabis, what happened was, if you're in pain, if you have a problem, just because the government says you can't take the opioid anymore, doesn't mean your pain went away. Your pain is still there. Trust me, the pain in my neck is still there from that accident. It's not going to go away, and the government taking away opioids wasn't going to mean my pain is going away. So what happened in the year 2010 was a lot of people turned to heroin, and that's where our heroin epidemic has come from today. A lot of people they didn't wake up in the morning wanting to become heroin addicts, but trust me, when you have a very high level of pain, it was something that they went out and took a look at. And you see the spike that goes right up here. There's one fascinating curve at the bottom down here called cannabis. It's right here, and it's at 0, which is really, really interesting. If you take a look at how many people die, this is from 2 years ago. Obviously, a lot of people die from tobacco, alcohol, aspirin. Peanuts, 100 people a year die from peanuts. You know, when you realize that cannabis is safer than peanuts, it's something that to take seriously. It's something that can potentially be, again, nobody's ever died from cannabis. I think that's important. And you contrast that to the 30,000 Americans that we lost over the last year with opioids. It's a big, big difference. One of the questions that always comes up is how much of certain things can you take to make it lethal? This chart is interesting. It's from the CDC. And it means that, if, for example, in alcohol, that if you take 1 shot of alcohol right down in here, and you can feel it, that if you take 10, then it could potentially be lethal to you. Now, some people can drink 2 shots of alcohol before they feel it, so it would be 20. But the point is, there's a limit that's up there. What's interesting is that when some of the officials from the CDC went in and testified in front of Congress, they were asked what does it take to kill people? as far as what we're taking. And so if you drink 118 cups of coffee a day, you're putting yourself on the threshold. You take 13 shots of alcohol, it probably puts yourself on the threshold, especially if you get high of one shot, you can feel it. 6 liters of water. What was interesting is they were pressing the person who was presenting on how much cannabis, how much weed would it take for you to be able to kill yourself. And he said, you can't, it won't happen. So jokingly, he came out and said, you've got to eat 1,500 pounds of cannabis in 15 minutes to kill you. It was kind of a joke. And they literally put it in the record, and they put it on the record. What's fascinating is that I don't think anybody can eat 1,500 pounds of anything. Let's put it that way. But it was something that's interesting, that it's something that has been testified. It's been going around for a long time. It's something that people know. And I'm going to go back to the research part for a second, because a lot of people wonder about how safe it is for you. This is a National Institute of Health database. I mentioned it before. What's interesting is Dr. Mechoulam and all the people that receive funding were required to put their research in the NIH database. Now, what's interesting is that although they put the research in there, and these are studies, I mean, some of them aren't quite the studies we would do here in the United States. They would do it the way they do them in Europe, but they still do A/B testing and placebos and things like that. But what's interesting is there's been 32,000 studies in the National Institute of Health database. I think now it's up to about 35,000. But the pharma companies had a rule passed that said that if the study's done in Israel, or if it's done, for example, in Spain, that it can't be recognized here in the United States unless it's redone again here in the United States. What they're saying is if an apple falls to the ground in Israel, or if an apple falls to the ground in Spain, it's not going to fall to the ground here. Now, why do I bring up Spain? Because 22 years ago, Spain came to one of the graduates from Raphael Mechoulam's program, Dr. Cristina Sanchez, and they built her a lab in Spain to study cancer and marijuana. So they've been studying cancer and marijuana for 22 years. She has right now in the National Institute of Health database over 1,300 studies on cannabis and cancer. So it's something that we should pay attention to. It's something that has been looked at. And the problem is that most of the research is done outside the United States, because here in the United States, it's a Schedule I drug. If you look at this little chart over here, epilepsy is the number one contributor to the NIH. There's still 400 studies done on just epilepsy and marijuana. That's more than has been studied on Adderall. And if you take a look at some of the more important things, like hydrocodone, it's like 1,200. There are like 1,200 studies that are done. Here's the cancer ones that are here. Like I said, that's up to about 1,300 now with Dr. Sanchez. But it's something that is seriously taken advantage of. It's been looked at by the medical community. There's also one other, what I would call, study that's been done. There's a gentleman whose name is Rick Simpson. Rick stumbled upon a formula of cannabis that he found out had an effect on cancer. Now, he didn't run around and say that this was a cure for cancer, but certainly he found out it was something that did contribute to cancer, to helping it. He then went and created a group called Phoenix Tears, which you might want to take a look at. And he's been collecting testimonials from people who used his product and still are still alive using cannabis. Now, obviously, it wasn't done in a setting of a testimonial. He just put it together. He basically contributed, like insulin, he contributed it to the world and let them take it from there. Now, he has been driven out of the United States. The pharma companies don't want to see him. He was in Canada for a while, and so he worked out of there for a long time, worked with the programs in Canada, and then he's now living in Europe and working with a lot of European countries on treatments, and they're being very progressive in Europe about using cannabis. And RSO oil is something that's very important. I think, Andrew, you sell RSO oil, right?
Yeah, Mark, we do. Traditionally, RSO is derived from an indica strain, and so that's what we carry at Trulieve. And it's actually one of the only products we offer in bulk quantities with a bulk pricing. And the way that RSO works, right? It's actually it's a full spectrum plant extract, meaning that it contains a lot of the materials and a lot of the ingredients that the plant has, and it can be used in a variety of ways. In Florida, it is dispensed under an oral recommendation recommended by your physician, but it is helping a lot of patients, especially cancer patients, find relief.
Yeah, I don't want to be someone that says medical marijuana cures cancer until we've done more studies.
Right.
60,000 testimonials, I think that's a pretty good, I think the average study done for the FDA is about 300 to 500 people. Maybe 5,000 is the most. But I can say that my mother contracted breast cancer 3 years ago, and she was in her late 80s. And we put her on RSO oil because I felt that a mastectomy at that age would probably kill her, if not chemo and radiation. Mom is still alive. In fact, hopefully, if this COVID thing plays, I'll fly to California at the end of August and celebrate her 92nd birthday. And she's doing very well. In fact, she's like the freaking Energizer Bunny right now. She went from being lethargic and having trouble moving around to where she candidly drives us nuts. So
Right.
there's one case study that's there, but I take that very seriously. And I think these are the kind of things that's been going on with cannabis that we need to get rid of the Schedule 1. We need to really get rid of the Schedule 1 designation so we can start studying it and we can start opening up for a lot of people and try to help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's jump into how does it work? In other words, you're going to have a question of how does cannabis help me? There's something in the body that's been discovered. Actually, it was discovered in the early 40s, the endocannabinoid system, but it really wasn't given a lot of, it wasn't really highlighted until the 60s, 70s, and really in the 90s when it was contributed to working with cannabis. We have a system called the endocannabinoid system. What the endocannabinoid system is a series of, in essence, it's connectors in our body. It's our nervous system. It's like our nervous system. In fact, it parallels our nervous system. And what you find is there are, what it does is it's a network that allows your system, your body to be able to regulate its pain, to regulate mood, regulate appetite, inflammation, and other immune things. In other words, this is the way your body heals itself. And candidly, this is the way your body manages itself. And there are CB1 receptors. These are primarily in the brain. They're in the nervous system. They're throughout your body. They're the light blue ones that you see over here. And there are CB2 receptors. These are the dark blue ones here. They're primarily in your organs and you're in the immune system. And they're basically in there to be able to work with your body. Now, your body will know there's a problem. You know you have pain or you know you have inflammation, and your brain you'll be able to pick that out. And so what happens is your body says problem. So it then produces the endocannabinoids, which goes into your blood system, and it treats that particular problem. Now, in certain cases, like in my case, I'm over the age of 65, your body isn't producing enough cannabinoids to really address all the problems that are out there. Or you may have a situation where, for example, I put my body where my mouth was about 2 years ago and had my left knee replaced. And I decided to use medical cannabis as a post-surgical treatment as opposed to opioids. I did use the opioids in the hospital Monday and Tuesday. I had to. But on Wednesday, when I was discharged, I literally took no more opioids. When I was discharged at about 1:30, I went into the parking lot, took some oil, tincture oil, and then hit a vape pen. And before I hit the street, before we were in the car, my wife was driving, we got to the street, my pain level was below a 1. And it stayed that way. It's stayed that way ever since. And I was working with Jewett Orthopedics, so I did work with my doctors. I had 5 doctors at Jewett Orthopedic I was working with. And we tracked it we really tracked it. We're still tracking it even today. But it's something that really works, and it's something they wanted to. I was their lab rat to find out if it's working and be able to help. But again, you have CBD, CBN, CBTHC that all goes into your body that helps your brain send the medicine to the part of your body that can heal it. Now, I want to point out there is something you may hear of called a synthetic product called Myranol. Myranol is pure THC. Being pure THC, it has some really rough side effects. And also, it doesn't do a lot to help inflammation and things like that. This is mainly a pure pain remedy. You'll hear about it. It's not real popular, but it is out there. But what happens is your body uses all this to control your appetite, pain, pleasure, stimulations, things like that. So what your brain is working with the plants, and what it does is it stores, when you take cannabis, it goes right into the fatty acids in your body. So think of your fatty acids as kind of like the batteries that are in your body. So when your neurons find out that you have a problem, what it does is it triggers those fatty acids to turn into endocannabinoids. And then what that does is you're distributed through your bloodstream, your blood system, to that part of your body to be able to then go out and to be able to address the inflammation, the pain, or whatever it's trying to address. That's how cannabis works. Now, what's interesting is if you take cannabis, like my mother was taking cannabis for her breast cancer, your body doesn't know your body just wants to help itself. So literally about 3 weeks after she started taking cannabis, she went to the doctor for the glaucoma. And the doctor looked at her and said, your glaucoma's gone. You don't have it anymore. What are you doing? And she said, well, I'm cannabis, medical cannabis. And your body knew that she had another problem, and again was producing the medicine it needs to help that. That's what we call the entourage effect. It's where your body knows that it needs help, and it goes out and helps you in various parts of your body. And that's the beauty of cannabis. When you're wondering how can it help so many things, it's because your body knows what the problem is, and you're producing your own medicine. So first of all, your body's producing your own medicine. The good news is, and the great news is, because your body's producing that medicine, that's why no one's ever died from using medical cannabis. It's not a foreign substance. It's not something that's crazy. It's something where your body is producing something that's helping you out right here. Now, you're going to hear a lot about terminology. You're going to hear about hemp. You're going to hear about marijuana. The hemp plant is something that's very, it's kind of, over here, you look at this one, it's kind of like a stringy root that's out there. It's used a lot for textiles, building materials. It is used in CBD oil, hemp-based CBD oils, very popular for that. Used for biofuels. It's a very sturdy plant. Marijuana, on the other side, the cannabis version, is something that's more like a bush. That's why they call it weed. It just grows everywhere. And what's interesting is when people look at getting hemp-based CBD oil, in order to produce a bottle of hemp-based CBD oil, it takes about 8 hemp plants, which is interesting. Where on the other side of the coin, if you're going to produce a bottle of marijuana-based CBD oil, it takes about a half of a marijuana plant. The bottom line is that a quality hemp product will probably be more expensive than a cannabis product, cannabis-based CBD product. And a lot of the products that you see, or used to see in the gas stations and everything for $39, they didn't have enough medicine in it to be able to really help you. That's why people tried it and it didn't work. But I want to caution you that there's this perception that is cheaper. Sometimes it really isn't, but there are some medical benefits. Hemp is good. I'm not saying that it's not something that can't help you, but if you really want to address a medical issue, I would go to a real source that can be able to address that.
Right.
So now, when you're also going to hear about terms that are in there. Andrew, do you want to talk about the CBD versus THC?
Yeah, so CBD is the non-psychoactive cannabis component that you find in most of the medicines here in Florida and across the country. You do get CBD derived from cannabis is different than the CBD that you get derived from hemp. And a lot of the reason behind that is that when you extract CBD from the cannabis plant, you get a lot of the other, what we talked about before, a lot of the other ingredients behind the medicine itself. THC is the psychoactive component. This is what produces the psychoactivity or the high or the buzz that you may feel from marijuana. And THC helps out a lot with the pain, helping you go to sleep. So there are specifically different 2 types of medicine out there that can help achieve different relief marks depending on what you are using medical marijuana for.
Sure. This is the famous CBD, this famous medical marijuana wheel. When you take a look at cannabis has over 450 medical components to it. And there's different parts of that. And this wheel kind of points out the different types of, within the cannabis plant, the different categories that you can find that are out there. I tend to use this to have people understand that if you take a look at the yellow part and the part that's on the left over here, this is the CBD part. CBD is found in both hemp and cannabis. The yellow part is what's found in hemp. And when you buy a cannabis-based CBD, you get this part over here. When you buy a hemp-based CBD product, you're getting about 82 medical properties that are in it. When you buy a cannabis-based CBD product, you're getting about 108 medical properties. So there is a difference between the two, but they're both effective for the different areas. It's not really effective. CBD oil by itself it will help, but it's not really effective at things like pain. It does help you relax. It does help you sleep, and those kinds of areas. The THC part of it over here is something that does help with pain relief. It does help with stress. I know that I use what they call a Delta 8 product, and I can tell you it's as good as Percocet. It allows me to immediately manage my pain without being high. without being goofy, I still am able to conduct and live my life during the day, but I'm able to do it pain-free rather than taking a lot of drugs. The nice part about it is when you put both of those together, when you put the CBD and the THC together, you get something called the entourage effect. And that entourage effect is not only something where it makes make the use of it much more powerful. In other words, it works, but also it affects in different other parts of your body. You may have a pain in the back of your leg that you had for years, and you're taking it for potentially arthritis, and you find out that it in fact does work. Now, when you're going to hear about hemp products, you're going to hear about something that's called broad and full spectrum products. In the hemp products, because they're regulated, broad spectrum hemp products have no THC in it. Full spectrum CBD products have just a little bit of THC in it, 0.3%, and that's the federal limit that's up there. So if you're looking at products that are in the CBD area, that's the difference between broad and full spectrum. A lot of people stick with broad because they're worried about getting tested, not having THC in there. There's not enough THC to really get you high or anything like that, but it's much more effective if you're really going to use the hemp-based CBDs. Take a look at full spectrum products. They're usually much better for you as far as helping you. Now, this is interesting. When I got in the business 6 years ago, I was really told that you need to look at indicas and sativas. Indica would relax you, sativas would make you excited. Andrew, you want to comment on that a little bit? I think this was where we were about 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Right, yeah, and sativas, indicas, it's a great way for people to familiarize themselves with cannabis, So sativas, generally speaking, now everybody reacts to medicine a little bit differently, right? There's about an 80-20. It's a pretty standard rule of thumb in medicine. 80% of people will react the same way. There's about 20% that will react a different way. But sativas, generally speaking, when we're talking about the phenotypes, they are going to be a very much taller, lengthier plant. And the sativas are what we call sunshine sativas. A majority of patients will use a sativa during the daytime, or, in the other side, on the other end of the scale there, you have indicas. So from a phenotype, they're a much bushier, smaller plant, but those are what makes you feel, we call those in-the-couch indicas. They make you feel much more relaxed. You have some great examples here of some classic sativas and indicas. And really, the difference between sativas and indicas are going to be the terpene and cannabinoid profiles within each of those species. So there is a difference. And then sometimes you'll even find a lot of different medicines out there that are called hybrids, and that's a combination of a sativa and an indica.
Yeah, I mean, the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a lot of research and a lot of work done to produce what they call strains. And those strains are really targeted for various types of medical conditions that are out there to really help you with that. And that's really where medical cannabis comes in. There's a lot of folks that I've met that said, well, I'll just go smoke a joint and it'll take care of it. And I guess, yeah, it will it's like drinking 151 Bacardi and going to a pool party. It'll work, but I'm not sure that you want to have, that's not exactly the right way to approach it. A pina colada or a scotch might get you there just as well, a good bourbon. What's interesting is when I had my auto accident 4 years ago, I immediately went to medical cannabis because I was in a lot of pain, and the opioids weren't the way to go. And so first time I went in to the dispensary, I had my doctor's recommendation. I said, what do I need? They gave me what I needed. I took it. It was kind of working. I went back the second time, the same thing. Third time I went in, and I said to the bud tender, how do you know out of all the products? I mean, take a look at the products in my background here. I have all these products. How do you know what works for me? And she looked at me and said, it's very simple. Based on what your doctor recommends, I can look at your terpene profile. And based on your terpene profile, I can match it to the right strain, and I can get you a product that really helps you. I can target cannabis to help you with your pain, and at the same time reduce the inflammation, because the inflammation in my spinal system was something that was obviously causing me a lot of pain. You might want to comment on that, but the work you guys have done on with terpenes and with cannabis with strains.
Yeah, so developing strains in Florida and picking strains is a very selective process, right? We want to be able to pick strains that have the most beneficial medical benefits for patients. And terpenes are, it's like the fingerprint of a strain. It's what makes it unique. And in Florida, we actually go ahead and we third-party lab test all of our strains. And in that test result that is available to the public, that we break down the terpene profile. And so we can actually look at, hey, we know that this strain is working well for me. Well, if I want to go try something else out, see if this works for me well, then what we need to do is look at those lab reports and look at that terpene profile and say, these are the dominant terpenes in this strain. So we need to find something that's close in relation to that profile if we're going to switch something up, if we know that it's working well for you. Again, it's a very unique medicine. It's very much, everybody reacts a little bit differently. So we need to make sure that we dial in on the terpenes. It's going to be one of the most important aspects to look at when we're trying to find a medicine that works best for you. Yeah,
it is interesting because when it talks about the third part of component of working this thing is your biology. Every body is different. As we pointed out, as your body is producing the endocannabinoids, every person's body processes it differently. And so the amount of dosing that you take will be different for every person. This isn't one of those things where you take 2 aspirin in the evening and then call the doctor in the morning if you still have a headache. This is something where you've got to be able to figure out what your body will accept and in what quantities. And I say that because there's this whole theory that says go low and go slow. And by the way, I'm having a lightning storm here, so if you hear some rattling in the background, it's the ambiance of nature. What's interesting is that you go low, you go slow. A lot of cannabis patients will try it for a week or maybe a week or two. It doesn't do anything, so they quit. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. If you're using it and it's not working, talk to your dispensary. Go back and chat with them. Talk to your doctor. And your doctor will actually help you readjust the amount of dosage that you have. Now, in many cases, there are doctors that are very hard to get a hold of. The reason I work with MMTC is because medical marijuana treatment clinics of Florida are the only doctors that have a call center. It's a dosing call center. So you can call them up. They have practitioners that are there that'll work with you. They'll look up your records. They'll work with your doctor, and they'll help you adjust your dosage to help you get the maximum benefits out of your cannabis. I'm not against any of the other doctors. They just don't have the time normally or the resources to be able to answer phone calls during the day, especially if they're taking appointments. But if you can work on your dosing, literally within a week or two, maybe within a month, you'll get the dosing correct. You're gonna get the maximum benefit out of cannabis, and that's really what you want to do. Quitting is not the answer. The answer is being able to just go back and get your dosing adjusted. Your thoughts on that, Andrew?
Yeah, and we also, I just saw a question pop up, and it says that, the doctor doesn't recommend types or method. It seems in Florida, the store helps you pick. And they're asking, should I be being told by what to buy by my doctor? And the fact is that a lot of doctors, they know the uniqueness of this medicine. They know that it's going to be tailored for you. So they'll recommend a dosing or a route of administration. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But really, it's going to be a very patient-centric medicine. We'll have doctors that say, hey, we talked about those CBD and THC. Maybe I want you to start off on a ratio of those products. But when it comes to the specific strains, everybody in Florida carries a different line of products. It's a vertically integrated market. There's different types of strains out there. And so it's really working and trying to find out what works best for you. We actually go ahead and, hey, something's not working well for you. This isn't the right terpene profile for you, for instance, then we'll take that medicine back and we'll exchange it out for something different if it's not working right for you. We don't want you to get stuck with a medicine or a terpene profile or strain that's not going to work well for you.
Yeah, and that's really important. I have to emphasize, try different products. Work with the dispensary. Try different products, and you might try 1 or 2 other dispensaries. I'm not saying that Trulieve is one of the products I use. In fact, I use it every day. But the point I'm saying is you've got to figure out what exactly works for you. I kind of liken this to when you go into a bar, you see a lot of bottles of whiskey, or you see a lot of bottles that are there. You got to figure out what you like and what works for you. It's a very similar process. In this particular case, because it's medical, what you want to do is you want to be able to pick the products that really help you, that really address your situation. And the main difference between medical and recreational cannabis is really the terpene profile targets the cannabis to be able to help you. Andrew, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so terpenes are, we keep highlighting this. It's one of the most essential parts of the medicine. So terpenes are found not only in cannabis, but in almost all plants. It's found in flowers, spices, fruits, vegetables. It's an essential oil. And so I love what you have here, Mark. The endocannabinoid system is the highway, and the anecdotamine is the driver. The cannabinoid is the passenger, but the terpenes help navigate and shapes the cannabinoid journey like a GPS. I couldn't put it any better than that.
Yeah, no, and they all work. They all work together. When they work together, they work beautifully. I can tell you, look, someone who's had the neck injuries that I've had, and somebody who's had knees replaced. One of my bad habits is golf. I played golf all my life. I played golf in high school and in college. Played competitively. I'm a rabid golfer. My wife will tell you I'll play golf anywhere, anytime with anybody. I'll play on a parking lot. Um, and and I've been able to get my life back. I've been able to play golf again, and I shouldn't. I mean, if you take a look at it with bad necks and with a bad neck and knee surgery, you shouldn't be able to do that. I actually work with Jewett Orthopedic, and we put out a series of articles on how to play golf after knee surgery, because a lot of especially a lot of seniors are trying to figure out how to do that. A lot of that has to do with having the right terpenes,
Right.
being able to address those issues. And you're right, that's being that's out there. I don't. We just went through a lot of the terpenes. What we might want to do is talk about the specific ones. You want to take this, Andrew?
Yeah. So we have CARYOPHYLLENE, and CARYOPHYLLENE, you'll find it in other plants such as pepper, and it's a very spicy aroma, woody, clovey. And what CARYOPHYLLENE does when it's prevalent or in high levels of marijuana, for instance, it helps with the pain, anxiety, depression, ulcers. And an interesting fact about CARYOPHYLLENE is it actually acts on the CB2 receptors like a cannabinoid would. It's the only terpene that does something like that. And it helps modulate the THC psychoactivity. So it actually brings down that buzzy feeling that you get when you use a THC product. And a couple of strains that you'll find CARYOPHYLLENE very, very high in presence is going to be your Girl Scout cookies and your sour diesel.
Now the other is myrcene. Myrcene's found in a lot of products.
Right. Myrcene is it is actually the most abundant terpene in the cannabis plant. You'll also find myrcene in mango. It's very prevalent in mango, lemongrass, thyme, hops. It produces a very musky, earthy, herbal aroma, and it really helps out a lot with insomnia, pain, inflammation. Myrcene is going to be a terpene that helps bring THC across the blood-brain barrier to help hit those CB1 receptors. So the myrcene, there's actually a classic little stereotype out there that says if you eat a mango after you medicate, you actually feel the effects of your medicine much higher. And it's because of that fact, is that it's helping bring the THC across that blood-brain barrier. You'll find myrcene very high levels in strains like 9 Pound Hammer and Granddaddy Purple.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's something they call a couch lock, which is a big capability to relax. I know a lot of people, especially I live in a seniors community, they're worried about how do they relax, how do they sleep, how do they be able to just turn off at night. Myrcene has a big effect on that.
Right. So myrcene very high in those indica strains, those couch lock or indica strains.
Right. One is limonene.
Limonene. This is probably the second most abundant terpene found in cannabis. It has that citrus aroma. It's found in a lot of fruits. And limonene gives a sense of well-being, and it helps reduce anxiety, depression. You'll find a lot of limonene in sativa strains. Naturally also found in things like rosemary, juniper, fruit rinds. And it helps, like I said, relieve the stress, elevate the mood. You'll find a lot of limonene in strains like Super Lemon Haze, Jack Herrera's, anything that says strain X OG or OG strains are high in limonene.
And then one of my favorites, linalool.
Linalool. This is my favorite smelling terpene. You'll find linalool in lavender. It's got a very floral aroma. Its potential medical value is it helps with anxiety, depression, insomnia, pain, inflammation. It's very good for things like mood enhancement, but it can also be sedative. You'll find limonene in a lot of those purple strains of marijuana. If you ever look at a flower of marijuana, it's got a lot of purple in it, probably got a lot of linalool in it. We carry a strain called Dose-Dose that has a lot of linalool in it. It works very well for medical patients.
Sure. And there's a lot of other strains that are out there. I don't want to give you the impression that those are all, but we're just giving you some examples of the terpenes and those profiles that dial right in. Now, one of the questions Ellen asked is, how are the various products administered? And as you can see here, there's a number of ways. We're going to go through this a little bit. Andrew, I want to thank you. I'm a huge Flamingo fan, so I want to thank you for your garlic here. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to order some. Just because I love flamingos. But the point is, there's different ways of using it. And so, why don't you take us through how people would use medical cannabis? Because I think the perception is I'm going to get into medical cannabis, so I'm just going to roll a joint and sit on the front porch. I think we're way beyond that right about now.
Oh, we're so far past that. So what we look at when a patient comes in to Trulieve is there's going to be your doctor's recommendation. And a doctor, there's actually, we'll recommend there's 5 different types of routes of administration in Florida. And the first one is sublingual. So sublingual is anything that you're taking cannabis underneath your tongue, and it absorbs via the digestive system or the blood vessels in the mucous membranes in the mouth. Sublingual products, you'll see things like tinctures or oral drops. They work relatively quickly, about 15 to 40 minutes for what we call the onset time. And the duration of relief that you'll find with sublingual products is about 4 to 6 hours. So you can just start with a couple of drops. You'll feel it in about 15, 40 minutes. You'll find that relief, or you'll need to take a couple more drops. You need to find that right dosing in accordance to your doctor's recommendation. So sublingual drops are great in the sense that it lasts pretty long and it works pretty quick, but it doesn't work as quick as things like inhalation. Inhalation is what you see here, or the vape pen category of the medicine. So vape pens or inhalation routes of administration work almost immediately. You'll feel it within 5 minutes, no doubt. And the downside, though, is that you don't feel it for as long. So a lot of the inhalation products out there, like I said, you'll find it in the vape pens, and those are going to be extracted oils. You can also vaporize whole flower products. And the vape pens, they come in you'll find them in CBDs, you'll find them in ratio products, and you'll find them in high THC products as well. Now, the third one here is our capsules. Capsules fall under what we call the oral route of administration. So capsules work, it takes about 30 minutes to 2 hours for you to feel that onset of the medicine. So the flip side there, though, is that it lasts the longest out of any other route of administration, right? You'll usually feel the effects of your capsules for about 5 to 8 hours. Capsules are great, especially if you're used to, taking vitamins or other medication. It's a very convenient way to take the medicine and get an exact dose. We carry capsules in 10 milligrams and 50 milligrams, 25 and 25 milligrams. So the capsules, they work a little bit slower than your other routes of administration, but they last a long time. Now,
I might want to point out that when you're using a sublingual drop, it goes underneath your tongue, and that goes right into your blood system, right into your bloodstream right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you take a capsule, that goes into your stomach, and about 20%, 25% of the it has to be, your stomach has to absorb it. That's why it takes more time, and typically takes about 20 to 25% of the medicine away. So you're typically taking more medicine for the same effect. So that's mainly the main difference. That's why some people prefer sublingual, both for the speed and also for the bang for the buck.
Right. And, it really depends on what your doctor's recommending. But you know, what we have in Florida is the doctor can actually recommend more than just one route of administration. So for instance, if you are not able to get to sleep, there's two things going on, right? You can't fall asleep and you can't stay asleep. So a doctor may recommend an oral route of administration and an inhalation route of administration. And what this will do in conjunction with each other is you take your capsule about an hour before you go to bed, and you use your vape pen when you're in bed. And that vape pen is going to help get you to sleep, and the capsules will help keep you asleep, and you get a whole night's rest.
Yeah, what's interesting in my case is when I wake up in the morning, because of my neck, I'm in a level of pain of about a 7 or an 8. I mean, it just flatly hurts. I immediately get up. On my nightstand, I have sublingual drops, and I'll take the sublingual drops. That's going to obviously take, for me, it takes about 20 minutes for them to work. But I grab the vape pen that's right next to it, and I take 2 hits off of the vape pen. And I have to tell you, within a minute or two, the pain level goes from a 7 or an 8 right down to a 1, if not below that. And it's the first time that happens. I mean, I looked at my wife the first time it happened, and I said, I don't believe this. I kind of felt like somebody took a rag, wiped my back, and the pain went away. And let me tell you, when you're in a level of pain of 7, 8, and the pain goes away, you kind of go, wow. In fact, even this morning when I did it, I still am amazed every day. I've been doing it for 4 years. Every day that I do this, I find it absolutely amazing. I mean, this little vape pen right here, this is my buddy. This doesn't leave my body. This thing, I carry it with me every day, because if I'm out somewhere and I step off a curb wrong, or I do something wrong, I've got something that can help me. So I'm actually using 2. What I'm trying to point out is, one, I'm using to be able to address the pain and the inflammation. The vape pen I'm using mainly for the pain. And by putting those 2 together, it works pretty well. In my particular case, because of the level of pain that I'm on, I have administration in the morning, midday, and then typically after dinner, just before bed. Those are the 3 times that I take it. But in every case, I've got my vape pen. I have to tell you, it's something that works, because it immediately gets rid of the pain.
Right.
Now, tell me about edibles. I know they're not legal in Florida yet.
Right. So edibles is a weird situation. So the legislature actually approved edibles, but the Department of Health has not put out the regulations on how we can sell or package or dose edibles. But edibles are soon to come, hopefully, in Florida. You know, edibles are things like those gummies, brownies, cookies. Edibles, you got to really proceed with caution on those. You know, you don't want to take an edible and then you know, go 5-10 minutes later and take another one. You might be in a problem. You might not enjoy that too much at all. So edibles soon to come in Florida, but not quite yet.
Yeah, edibles are very popular. I know my mother lives in California, and we've kind of turned around to edibles as the way to take it. I mean, again, she's going to be 92 in August. And the thing I want to caution you about edibles is, it says it takes 15 to 40 minutes to work. Sometimes it may take an hour for them to work. If you have a Portuguese Italian mother, like I do, who has the patience of a gnat, okay, they took her quarter of a brownie, and it didn't work after 5 minutes, so she took half the brownie. When that didn't work after about 5 minutes, she took the whole damn brownie. And so literally an hour later, she was feeling good. I had my brother, she called me and said, I feel good. And my brother go over and talk to her, and my brother said, Mom is baked. She ate 2 brownies. Be careful. Let them work, okay? Please have some patience with this stuff, because they do work. Like I say, she's just used to instant gratification, but she actually carries them with her now in her purse. And she carries them around with her because, again, if she has any pain or anything during the day, Mom is good. So I hope we get edibles pretty quick. I think it's a pretty cool route of administration. Talk about topicals a little bit.
Topicals are great. You'll find different types of topicals. You'll find THC topicals, there's CBD topicals, and then there's 1-to-1, a ratio of CBD and THC that you'll find in lotions, sunscreens. And topicals are great for isolated pain or isolated inflammation. The topicals don't actually break that blood barrier. Topicals do not produce, even if you're taking a THC topical, it's not going to produce that psychoactivity effect that cannabis produces. So it's great for that isolated relief.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we just did a arthritis webinar yesterday, and really topicals were great to be able to put it on your arthritis. I use it on my neck. I use it on my knee because I had a left knee replacement. Especially after I play golf, it's something that helps quite a bit. It gives you that instant relief, which is great. It doesn't last a long time, but it really works pretty well. But the other thing is that I really love is transdermal patches. What I love about transdermal patches is you put them on and they'll last from 8 to 72 hours and you really don't have to worry about them that much. It's something that works very effectively. Sprays were developed, I believe sprays were developed a lot for the epileptic patients for kids because they're able to give them the sprays while they're having a seizure to be able to calm them down, which is great. And then there's the more sophisticated ways of taking cannabis. A lot of novices to getting into cannabis really start with the sublingual drops and the capsules, and if you want to get into vape pens, topicals, then kind of graduate into the flower and the crumble and the shadow. Those are more constant. They call them concentrates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Help you out quite a bit. There was one question that came up from Peggy, and it is: does vaping increase your vulnerability to COVID? And it's not to say, she was wondering about what kind of impact the vaping would have on your lungs. You want to touch that one, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. There's not a whole lot of research out there, but I mean, vaping definitely has a less of an impact than what smoking would have. Things like flower, when you're smoking the whole flower, that's something that you want to stay away from, especially during these uncertain times and COVID. But there's not a whole lot of research or studies out there to properly answer that question for Peggy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the vape pens are more steam based, and so they don't really carry a lot of the negative particles and things that get in there. Obviously, if you're smoking tobacco, flower, things like that, it has more of a heavier impact on there. There isn't been a lot of research, so I don't want to be dictatorial, or I don't want to seem like we authoritatively know. But I do know the vape pens really, where people who can't smoke sometimes can't use vape pens because they're just not as heavy on your body.
Right.
And again, it's something that to take a look at, especially if you're looking for immediate pain. It works out very well. Does vaping make you vulnerable to COVID? I can't answer that one way or the other. I'm not sure that it really does. I think, COVID is one of those things. The best way COVID was explained to me by a medical doctor was that if you had radiation in your pocket and you walked around, would people want to be near you? And the answer is no. And he was telling me that the COVID virus is unique. What makes it so unique, it is dangerous. It spreads just like radiation. If you're with somebody or near somebody, literally, if you're within 4 to 6 feet, it can be transmitted. It is very, very deadly. Almost every other viral disease doesn't quite have the strength. This has literally the strength of 10 to 20 times of anything else that's out there. And that's why they ask people to wear masks and socially distance, because this thing really it's looking for human bodies. And it's not political. It's not political. It doesn't really care. It's just looking for something. And unfortunately, we're stuck in the middle of this right now. And I'm not going to be political, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure that vaping contributes one way or the other. I wouldn't worry about it. I would say if vaping can help you get your stress down, get your anxiety down, get your pain down, I'd take a look at it. I don't think you're going to get COVID because you vape. You'll probably get COVID if you're near somebody not wearing a mask or doing something like that. The other question that came up is, what's the main benefit of RSO oil?
Right. The main benefit of RSO oil is you're getting that full plant extract. You're getting all those other cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids that are found naturally in the marijuana plant in a concentrated form that you can easily dose. And like I said, it is dispensed and it is used in Florida as an oral medication.
I know the main benefit was mainly tagged to cancer. I think that's what it became known for. And that's what a lot of people used it for. But I know it has tremendous benefits for pain relief. I know there's a number of veterans that use it for PTSD. So it has other uses that are out there. Again, because of the, because we have the Schedule I problem where we can't research it, it's hard to define a lot of these things definitively. One of the reasons why Rick Simpson's in Europe is he's doing work with a lot of European countries and in Israel to really look at the benefits of what his product or his invention has. It's out there.
Right. And then the other half of that question there, Mark, is there a book on terpenes that I can buy? I don't have anything specifically written down in front of me, but I do use a website called Leafly. It's Leafly. It's kind of like it has so much information on cannabis, terpenes. It's a great resource to use if you're researching terpenes and strains or cultivars.
Yeah, I know that there are. I know that in Amazon, I picked up 2 books from Amazon on terpenes. And what I'll do is, as a follow-up, you're going to get an email, and in that email will be a web page. It'll have information. It'll be a YouTube video of this broadcast. It'll give you some follow-up information, doctors that you can contact, things like that. And now what I'll do is I'll have a couple of the terpene books be put in there. Terpenes are really important. There's a lot of literature. I would go to Amazon too, and when you look at Amazon, you get some really good books that are out there. There's also a magazine which I'll make sure gets in the follow-up information. There's a whole terpene magazine. I get it every month, and it gives you the latest news and information on terpenes. There's another question that came up about what exactly is ethanol extracted. You want to touch on that one, Andrew?
Sure. So we use ethanol as a main solvent in our extraction and for our oils. Ethanol is a very safe way to extract the terpenes, the cannabinoids off of the marijuana plant and produce an oil. So you'll find products out there that are solventless that you don't use ethanol. And really, it all boils down to, in Florida, things like hydrocarbons are not approved for extraction. We are only approved to use, the only solvent that we can use is ethanol. And so it's a very safe, like I said, safe, reliable way to extract the medicine. And what we do though is we make sure that we get all of that ethanol out, and you can see that in the lab reports on all the medicine, that all the ethanol, and there's no residual ethanol within any of the medicine, but it's a solvent to extract the medicine.
It means that means that when they were extracting the cannabis and they were extracting the products, they were using ethanol to be able to do that. And the reason that that's important is that's because that's approved here in Florida. I think earlier last year, middle of last year, there were a lot of bad actors that were out there about products that came from God knows where and untested sources that created a lot of problems. You don't have to worry about that here in Florida. Everything is tested. In fact, if you look at the side of the bottle, there's a QR code. If you take your cell phone, put it up to that, it'll tell you the lab test that's been done.
Right.
So
it's that's the benefit of having a program like we have in Florida, is that you will find that all of that ethanol is taken out.
Yeah. One question that Mario had is, why am I not getting the same release I used to from the same dosage? Is it due to the fact that I'm increasing my tolerance? You want to answer that one?
Yeah, so you, as a patient and as you use marijuana, you do build tolerances up. And so if you do not feel the same relief marks that you used to from your medicine, you need to talk to your doctor and say that you believe you're building up a tolerance. I'm having to take another capsule, or I'm having to take a few more draws off of my vape pen. So you do naturally build a tolerance to CBD and THC. So it's important to stay in communication with your physician and make sure that they make those correct dosing adjustments for you.
But one of the other things that's important, and Mario, it's something that you may want to try. Every 4 to 6 weeks, I take a day off. I stop taking cannabis. I literally stop for about a day and a half. In my case, a day and a half. Some people take 2 to 3 days off. And what it does is the reason that I do this is because my body gets lazy. My body stops producing the endocannabinoids it was before. It's just basically sitting back going, hey, this stuff's coming in, so I'm not going to do that. And I found that if I knock off for a day or a day and a half, and then I go back to using cannabis, I find the cannabis is more effective. In other words, I am getting more benefit from it. Now, why do I only knock off for a day and a half? Because I'm not addicted to cannabis. I can walk away from it at any point in time. The problem is I have this thing called a pain in the neck, okay, that literally says, excuse me, I'm here, and I'm going to be here, so you better do something about me. So I mainly use it because I'm in extreme amount of pain, and when I get painful, I get grumpy, so I don't want to do that. My point is that if you take a break about every 4 to 6 weeks, just take a day off, and you'll find that it does help with the efficacy of the products that you're using. Let's see. There's what are the side effects? It says what so Emilio asked, any side effects of a vape pen so far? Respiratory. You want to touch on that, Andrew? Or you want me to touch on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add my 2 cents in there. I mean, really, for most people, there's not going to be too many side effects from vaping. Really, it comes from the smoking that you'll find those side effects. But Mark, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think that look, vaping, the vape pen is not as, let's put it this way, it is not as bad on your body as smoking, but it is something going into your lungs. Okay, so I won't say it's zero.
Right.
It's something that's a lot less, but it's something that's more tolerable. All the effects really haven't been studied. So I think if you do have a respiratory problem, be very careful. It may be something that you may not want to do, and you want to be very careful. Try it, what you want to do. Let me tell you what you don't want to do when you start using a vape pen. Don't take a big hit. Don't take it and use it a little bit. Try it out. Find out what your body can accept. You'll find it. It's just like anything else. It's something you got to just kind of build up to. But if you have a respiratory problem, be very careful, and it's something that you do need to pay attention to. And I'm not going to mess around on that one. I want to make sure that everybody here is safe and everybody's using the route of administration that's best for them. Right. One of the other questions that came up, which I think is great, is are there forms of Delta-8 other than vaping? Andrew.
There sure are. And I want to hold that question just for a couple minutes as we go through the show here, because I have a slide specifically on Delta-8 that I'd like to share with y'all.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I am a Delta-8 fan, so I'll chime in later. It's there. Now, Emilio, you asked a question. It says, what can, and it says EFE, and I don't quite know what question you have. Maybe you didn't finish typing it out. So if you could do that, we'd be more than happy to answer it for you. But what I'd like to do before we answer the rest of the questions is, Andrew, you want to talk about Trulieve a little bit?
Yeah, so Trulieve is the first licensed dispensary in the state of Florida. We actually just opened up our 49th dispensary today. We're opening up number 50 in Ocala tomorrow. And really what Trulieve is all about, our motto is patient access, and we grow one patient at a time. And patient access comes in the form of different types of medicine to get while you are a patient. That means different routes of administration, different products to fit those routes, and different options to choose, different strains to choose from so that you can find the best thing that works right for you. So what Trulieve does is we help guide you based on your doctor's recommendation to the best strain based off of what you're telling us, or if the doctor has recommended anything specifically. And then we have a great exchange policy. If it's not working well for you, bring it back and we'll help find something different. But Trulieve is they're all about the patients. We've had a lot of success because we've kept that focus throughout the years. And if you are ever interested and you're looking to see what different types of products are out there on the market, Trulieve has the largest product selection in Florida. You can visit us at www.trulieve.com, and it's a great place to start. Now, Trulieve,
By the way, I'm gonna say for a minute, I have gone in and tried products that in essence, I didn't necessarily like or didn't work as well for me, and I have exchanged them. I think your program is great. It really, you've been helping me. The key I like about Trulieve is it helps you dial in to the medicine that you need. I think that's very important.
Right. So one of those, new products or things that we've introduced into the market, and we're the first to, is called nanotechnology. And so what that means is we use a process of sonification to break up the THC and CBD molecules into little nano-micro-sized particles. And that allows you to increase the bioavailability of the product. So traditional medicines, and Mark, you mentioned it, about 15-20% bioavailability. Well, with nanotechnology, it actually increases it to about 90%. And it acts as a water-soluble molecule. So you can actually add these to things like beverages, your hot teas, your coffees. And we offer different forms of our nanotechnology products. One being our tincture drop, so part of that sublingual or oral route of administration. We carry it in ratio products like 1 to 8. That means 1 part CBD, 8 parts THC. We also have an 8-to-1, so 8 part CBD, 1 part THC. And most recently, we put out a couple of awesome products, one called True Powder. It's a 5 milligram scoop of this white powder that you put right into a warm beverage, and it's very easily dosed. You feel the effects within 5 to 10 minutes. It actually works when you incorporate the nanotechnology into these products. It works almost quicker or just as quick as things like your vape pens or your inhalation routes. Or you could say it kind of meets in the middle between a sublingual and a vape and an inhalation product.
I think if vaping is a bit of a problem for you, you may want to take a look at this product. It works very well.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was heading with that, Mark. It's something where if you want to stay away from the smoking or the vape products, your nano products are going to be the next best option for you to get the quickest relief that you can.
Sure.
The second product, or the third product line we came out with, are the True Tincture Drops. And what these are little lozenges, and we have a THC version of this. It's a 10 milligram little product there. There's 10 in each of those jars. And not only do we carry in THC, but we also offer it in a 1-to-1 product and also a CBD line as well.
Great. I have to tell you, I have tried the True Powder. I know you talk about warm stuff. I put it into smoothies.
Yeah.
And it works great.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we usually suggest just doing it into a warm beverage because it helps dissolve it much easier. But hey, if you're finding it work in those smoothies, keep going.
The blender takes care of that problem. That's when it's out there. Tell me about Delta 8 products.
Delta 8 is great. This is a newer cannabinoid on the market. So just a little bit of background. When we talk about THC, we're usually talking about Delta 9 THC. So Delta 8 is very similar, but it doesn't produce a lot of the psychoactivity that you get with Delta 9. So Delta 8 in combination with things like CBD offer great relief for things like pain, insomnia, nausea, can even help spark some appetite. And we offer Delta 8 in a few different formulations. So we offer it, a lot of the line comes in the True Pod or in the vaporizers. We do a 1-to-1-to-1, which is 1 part Delta 8, 1 part Delta 9, 1 part CBD. We also offer it in a 1-to-1 Delta 8 to CBD ratio. So very low in psychoactivity. It helps you really stay clear-headed throughout the day, but still get those pain, help reduce that pain throughout the day. And then you have things like Delta 8 to Delta 9, which you'll have a little bit of psychoactivity because of the Delta 9, but not nearly as much as you would with a straight up Delta 9 THC product. We also offer it in forms like True Clear, which is a concentrated oral, sublingual, or topical route of administration. We carry in a Delta 8 to Delta 9 ratio, but we're looking and we're going to be expanding much more on that Delta 8 line here in the near future.
I have to tell you, for one who has literally after the pain of a knee surgery and with my back, this is better than Percocet. I mean, I'm just making a statement on my own. It's no medical thing. I'm one person out of millions, but I can tell you this, it works. And I have talked to a number of folks in pain, and I've turned them on to this product. And I have yet to have anybody, I've probably turned on more than 15 people to this product. And I have not one person has ever complained, and most of them come back and say, thank you. It's really, really amazing. The guy who cuts my hair was standing all day in pain. We got him a card. We got him into the 1-to-1, and literally, now obviously I'm not getting my hair cut that much anymore, but it really, really helped him be able to last during the day. Made a big difference in his life.
Right. It's a great product. Like I said, for helping you stay clear-headed throughout the day. It's great for new cannabis patients or senior cannabis patients that are looking to avoid a lot of the psychoactivity that your traditional Delta 9 THC will produce.
Sure. So we're gonna slap the slide where get right into the questions. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention this cannabis is really, it's not a wand. It is kind of like fairy dust, but it's not something that by itself it will help you. But pay attention to your basic health, your self-care. Pay attention to your appetite. Pay attention to your diet. Those things will actually help you quite a bit. I think I have a routine in the morning I got into because I wanted to play golf. I wanted to stretch. One of my golf professional mentors got me into Tai Chi, which helps me stay loose and helps me, basically fight off the nemesis of aging. But it's something to pay attention to that can help you quite a bit. I want to end the presentation and get into more of a group discussion. And so let me get out a slide share here. We have some questions. Andrew, you want to take a few of these? I think the first one from Lloyd is that he found MTC oil in vape cartridges irritated his lungs and his throat. He switched to a concentrate and he had no issues. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so MCT oil in the past has been a very traditional, what we call a cutting ingredient, so that it can help reduce the actual percentage of the THC in a product. Now, there is absolutely no MCT oil in any of the Trulieve vaporizers to this date. It was in the past, but we removed it about a year ago or so. So it's something that we don't, the fact of the matter is we want to keep that medicine as pure as pure as we can without tainting it with cutting ingredients. So MCT oil, it kind of varies from person to person. They feel the effects, but nowadays you will not find you won't find a lot of products out there and from any dispensary with MCT oil in there.
Cool. One other question was asking about when's the next PTSD webinar, and that's going to be on the 14th of July. We'll be doing one on the 14th of July, and then we'll be doing another one on the 4th of August. That's when we actually call it PTSS webinars will be there. Lloyd also asked a question about CO2 cartridges. Are they as good as Blue River vape cartridges?
Right. So Blue River we're a proud partner with Blue River, and the difference between a CO2 cartridge and a Blue River cartridge is that your Blue River products are actually going to be solventless extracts. So we talked a little bit about that ethanol extraction. So in Blue River products, that's what they're known for, is solventless extraction. So what we do is we take the buds of the plant and we shake them up really good, and we knock all those trichromes off, and you get the flavonoids, the terpenes, and the cannabinoids, all of the strain itself within there. So it contains a lot of that entourage effect, right? And in Blue River products, it really helps when you're trying to find that entourage or that full plant relief, and it's in a vaporizable form. When you smoke marijuana, you actually lose about 70% of those flavonoids and those terpenes. You might have seen the combustion levels or the boiling points for some of those terpenes on the previous slide. But when you get those terpenes and cannabinoids too hot, they actually evaporate and you lose those. So the benefit of a Blue River terp vape cartridge is that you get all the benefits of the whole plant without losing any of it. It's very much more effective for that entourage than your classical smoking, a joint or however you like to consume your whole plant. Now, CO2 cartridges doesn't contain as much of the whole plant as you do with your Blue River. What CO2 cartridges are is that when you extract medicine, or you extract THC and CBD, it's polarized. You either get your THC and your CO2, or I'm sorry, your THC or your CBD, or you get your terpenes. And so what you do when you ethanol extract, you need to reintroduce that. So the CO2 cartridges are actually an extraction method to retain the terpenes, and you can keep the cannabis terpenes and reintroduce those rather than things like botanical terpenes. So it's a little bit more pure than your traditional ethanol extraction, but at the end of the day, the big difference is the entourage effect, and if you want that whole plant benefit versus the oil or the THC method.
One of the other interesting questions is Mario is worried about, he's concerned about the pesticide used on the flowers.
Yeah, so we use, zero pesticides. And if we use anything like that, it's a very biodegradable. It's something that we take very, very seriously. You're not going to find any pesticides on the finished product. We send that, like I said, we test that twice, and then we send it off to a third party. So you should not be concerned with pesticide if you're getting it from a legit MMTC that's testing this and it's regulated.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out it's tested 3 times for pesticides, which is very important. That's out there. I think one of the other questions that Heather had was, is medical marijuana helpful for neuropathy?
Yeah, as a doctor and not knowing your medical background, I don't have a comfortable answer or confident answer for that. But there are conditions that are similar, that are qualifying conditions that work very well for patients.
Yeah, I would say that the questions come up quite a bit. The best thing to do is book an appointment with a doctor. If you go to MMTC, I'm not pushing them per se, but if you go there, if you don't qualify, you don't pay for the appointment. So it's no harm, no foul. Go ask the doctor, find out exactly from him if it works for your particular medical condition. I know it has worked for a number of people. It has helped with a number of people, but again, get a medical doctor involved in this. It's kind of hard doing a webinar and not knowing your particular condition to be able to give an answer. But that's why doctors don't charge for the appointment. What they want to do is they want to help, and they want to be able to provide something that's helpful to you to be able to go forward. So the contact information for MMTC will be in the follow-up. But I would say best thing to do is consult the doctor. They'll give you the straight scoop. But don't shy away from it. I know people that have neuropathy and conditions like that have used medical cannabis very effectively. So I think we've answered almost all our questions, Andrew.
Looks like it. I don't see any other. So yeah, I hope we answered those questions that did come through to your standard, and I thought we had a really good conversation. We covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up. We appreciate it. Our goal is to really give you the straight information. And I have a philosophy that if I can help one person each day get their life back, it's been a great day, and hopefully we've done that. Please feel free to ask questions afterwards. You'll get, like I say, you'll get a follow-up email, and what they'll do is they'll give you a lot of information. I know James yesterday sent me another email. I saw you were on today, James. Hi, give a little shout out to you. I think Klaus was there. I want to say hi to Klaus. He's there. But please get a hold of us. Please let us know. We want to help you. That's our goal. Our goal is education. We're not pushing anyone, how should I say, we're not pushing any one form of administration. We just want to get you the right information to help you get your life back and go forward. I do want to mention that next Tuesday, there's going to be another webinar. It'll be on cancer. That's going to be one that's going to be, I think it'd be very, very interesting. And then I think a week from then Andrew, you and I are back on doing fibromyalgia. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So we'll be doing that. So listen, everyone, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. And again, we look forward to your comments. And thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you all for joining. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for helping us.
Mark, my pleasure.